There have been several people that we have carted off in an ambulance here that you're like, man, I don't know if they're gonna make it. Like,
Yeah.
it's bad.
Yeah.
Like, that is alcohol poisoning to the max. And you feel for them because you're like, what brought them to this point?
.24% of women report binge drinking within the last 2 weeks, one or more times, and about 85% of our male students report binge drinking within the last 2 weeks.
People do bad things sometimes. You never know when you're going to fall victim to something that somebody else is going to do while inebriated as well. Last year we had a girl, freshman, lived in Adams Hall, went out. It was that first weekend. She went out with her friends, or so-called friends that she had just met. They left her on the bench outside of Velvet, passed out drunk by herself. Little girl. I mean, she was 100 pounds soaking wet. We had to take her to the hospital, and that could have ended so badly.
Sometimes our students can be a little wary about seeking help because they don't want anybody to get in trouble. And I do think it's important that our students know about our amnesty rules and laws when it comes to seeking medical assistance for someone who's in an emergency like that.
It gets to the point where they're so drunk that they're throwing up, they're defecating themselves, they're urinating on themselves, or they just won't wake up, right? They're shallow breathing. What people don't realize is that the amnesty laws, I mean, they're not going to get in trouble just for reporting it, just for coming to law enforcement and saying like, hey, we need some help. And so for that, I mean, we do deal with a lot of students that end up so sick that they're in the hospital. We send people to the hospital almost every weekend. Students who drink now have become a lot more destructive over the years. We can enforce laws all day long. They can tell you what you can't, like what's going to be good for you at the end of the day, and it's just up to the student.
When you start looking at the second and third order physical effects of large amounts of alcohol consumption, alcohol is a depressant, right? You start consuming large amounts of alcohol, you start building up large amounts of cortisol. You can literally send yourself into a chemical spiral.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why Alcoholics Anonymous exists, because people literally, they become dependent upon it. And if you start early and this becomes a lifestyle for you, then you're going to have a very difficult time stopping.
Anecdotally, yes, students use alcohol to help cope with their stress, their anxiety. There's an old joke, how many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? And just one, but the light bulb has to want to change. And so so it doesn't do any good to tell somebody you need to change this behavior if they're not ready to change the behavior. So we try to meet people at the stage of readiness for that change that they are.
You know, for us, you know, we're picking up the pieces after the fact. We're always left with this, like, why in the world? This young man or woman's got everything going for them. You know.
Why throw it all away?
Why throw it all away?
Unfortunately, I have found myself in unsafe situations, but I've definitely taken them as learning opportunities.
We would go over to my friend's lake house a lot on Lake Altoona, and we didn't have means to buy alcohol, so we would kind of just steal a bunch of his parents, and it was all liquor. There was one night where we were just at his place drinking, and during the night, I'd gone to bed, and I don't really remember it, but when I woke up, I had thrown up all over myself, all over the bed, and it was terrible, and I was sick the rest of the day. And like looking back, I could have, choked it.
This one time, I was celebrating Christmas with my coworkers, and I fell because I was wearing new boots and scraped both of my knees, and ended up getting questioned by the police just to make sure I was okay, but it was still pretty embarrassing, and I think about it a lot.
The college culture I think encourages more than moderation, but there can be moderation for most people just to be able to go and socialize. And unfortunately, I think a lot of social scenarios in college do involve drinking. So I think there's just this weird dilemma for certain people. It's like, I don't really want to drink or get drunk, but that's kind of what the social, some social events just call for that.
I think that overindulging in drinking can definitely affect people very negatively. I know I have some friends that have like rushed fraternities and stuff like that, and their GPA ends up dropping below a 1.0, and they have to like fight and scrape their way back up to get there.
People don't have a good like spectrum of where the extreme really is. Just because you're not blackout drunk does not mean that you're drinking too much to do harm to yourself. It doesn't mean that you're too intoxicated. Just because you're not, like, I think blacking out is honestly way too common.
I realize that, you're in a position to where you're kind of cut to your own devices, right? But what I wish would happen was that if you were going to step into a place that you weren't supposed to be doing that you would at least do it in moderation.
Yeah.
I definitely think that like a healthy amount of drinking is attainable for a lot of college students. Again, I think it gets really hard when you're in the moment and you're with your friends and you're like, really excited to be going out and stuff, and it's really easy to overindulge. But I think people that have more awareness, and especially like self-awareness and control, are a lot better at pacing themselves properly and finding that healthy balance of like maybe a wine night with your roommates one night instead of going out and then going out the next night, or just staying in and not drinking is also always an option.
People don't know what they don't know, and students who've not had experience with alcohol don't know how much one or two drinks is going to affect them. So certainly if people are going to drink, we hope that they'll do that in moderation. Yes, I think there is room for people learning how to consume in moderation.
I think it's okay, and it's like I was saying, part of the culture to go get drinks somewhere. You should be able to have nights like that where you are socializing, you're having fun with people, and you're being responsible. So it's just kind of up to the individual to be able to manage that in a healthy way.
If you're gonna do it,
just be safe about it.
Or as Homer Simpson said, to alcohol the cause of and a solution to all of life's problems.